Hi, I'm Noah Bombard with Eagle-Tribune TV. Of course, one of the biggest stories this year has been the deficit problem in the city of Lawrence and the $35 million loan, or the proposed loan, to help bail the city out or dig it out of its massive deficit. Now, the big question in the story has been, what kind of strings will come attached with this loan? To talk about this today is Bill Kirk, a staff writer who's actually working on a story for this Sunday's edition to look at other cities, and we're looking, I think, at the city of Lawrence in the past, the city of Springfield, and one more to see how this has happened in the past when other cities have found themselves in horrible financial straits, had to borrow money from the state. What happened?
Well, there have been a number of examples where cities have run into this kind of problem before. In the case of Springfield, that's probably the most recent notable case. The governor at the time, Mitt Romney, appointed a board of financial oversight, a tofive-person board that went in. They had all the power of the mayor and the city council. They renegotiated union contracts and took a lot of steps to bring the city out of a $40 million deficit, and now they're on it. Now they have about a $35 million surplus. The board was just disbanded in the summer, and they've hired a chief financial officer to run the finances of the city.
And in that case, they had a financial control board in place, which is one of the options we're looking at for Lawrence. How did that end up working out? Were the people of Springfield happy with the outcome?
From what I've been able to gather, the taxpayers of the city were happy. A lot of the unions were not happy because that's the largest single cost of any municipality, or your union contracts. The biggest cost is benefits, salaries and benefits. So they had to go in. They had 28 municipal unions they had to bargain with. They renegotiated all those contracts. It took them from 2004 again until just this 2009 to do it. And they really have shaped up the city.
Now, in the Financial Control Board, do they have powers that the mayor and the city council do not have, or are they just able to make the tough decisions that politically, a lot of times, city councils and boards and mayors can't make?
Well, that's a great question, and that goes to one of the other options that has been discussed in regards to Lawrence, is receivership. When you bring in your Finance Control Board or you bring in a receiver, those people do not have the same concerns politically that an elected mayor and elected city council might have regarding the unions. Because as we know, the unions, they all vote. They're on work on people's campaigns. It's a very local decision what kind of union contracts you might make. So in the case of Chelsea in 1991, they appointed a receiver. That receiver came in, he had no ties to any of the unions. He came in, he renegotiated all these contracts, saved the city millions of dollars, and really turned the city upside down.
Now, the interesting point is it's often said it takes the politics out of it. And there's somebody at the state hearing on Tuesday said, I can't remember who said basically, politics isn't necessarily a bad thing because you're talking about representation of the people. Is that an issue that sometimes comes into play?
Yeah, on the political question, I think politics plays a huge role in all the decisions that are made right up to the state level. I think that, in fact, in this case with Lawrence, I think one of the considerations of Governor Patrick is the political consideration. He is treading very carefully in Lawrence. He knows it's a city that votes predominantly Democrat. It's got a newly elected Hispanic mayor. There's a huge voting bloc there. So he's taking on some serious political considerations as well.
And speaking of politics, of course, it's hard to ignore the big controversy that's been brewing this past week over Mayor William Lantigua, who has really dug in and said, I'm not going to give up my state rep seat. I can serve as a state rep and the mayor. Clearly at Tuesday's hearing, fellow state reps and senators were not too pleased with his decision to do that. That may actually play into what happens in Lawrence.
Well, right. As it stands right now, the bill proposed by Governor Patrick and supported by the Lawrence legislative delegation would have given the city the authority to borrow $35 million and bring in a financial overseer, which basically would help the new administration, the new city council, with their fiscal problems. Because of this week's hearing, a lot of legislators are now saying, we've had enough. We want to bring the Financial Control Board in immediately. There's a story in our paper, in Friday's paper, by Jill Harmazinski saying just that it's time to bring in the Financial Control Board. Don't give them the authority to borrow any money until the state has strict oversight and control of the city.
Now, aside from all the politics that have been involved in this, what does this mean for the people of Lawrence? What kind of conditions are they looking at as far as city services next year? Regardless of whether or not a financial control board comes in, whether the city files bankruptcy, are they going to see a marked difference?
Well, one of the biggest complaints from the Department of Revenue over the years is that the city has continually overspent its tax revenues and its other sources of revenues. The city gets 70 to 75% of its budget from state aid, state and local aid. So I think there hasn't been the kind of serious budget controls and discipline in the city that there needs to be. What will happen, as I understand it, is if the Finance Control Board comes in, you're going to start to see fees. You'll see probably a trash fee. That was even mentioned by Lenny Degnan at one point, who is the mayor's chief administrator. A trash fee would be put in place, which has been done in other cash-strapped cities. Other fees will go up. Some services will be cut. There will have to be layoffs. It will really, no matter what happens, Lawrence is in for a rough ride.
It's very much like a parent coming in and saying to their kid, look, you can't manage your finances. I'm taking over. I'm going to make the tough decisions. You're going to have to live with it. You're not going to like it.
Well, that's exactly right, and I think that's one reason that the Lantigua administration has up until the last couple of days, has really pushed back on the idea of having a financial control board come in. Now, apparently, the mayor seems to be okay with the idea of having a financial control board come in. Maybe that's as far as it'll go.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. We are going to continue to cover this story as it unfolds. Very much looking forward to Bill's story this Sunday, that really explores how this situation has worked before in Lawrence when the Financial Control Board came in, how it worked in Springfield, how it worked in Chelsea. Make sure and check that story out this Sunday, and thanks for joining us.